that God is the enjoyer of all our activities. We are not the enjoyers. We should act. We should act so for the enjoyment of God with all our activities. That will make us peaceful. And we should recognize that He is the owner and He is the controller. We're not owners and control. We don't own anything. Everything is actually owned by Him. He is Isavashamidam Sarvam. Everything is owned and controlled by Him. And He's also Suridam Salbhutanam. He is the real friend of all living beings. Sometimes that's also seen someone who's actually a kind of a demoniac mentality or wants to usurp the position of God. Also, but looks like a very kind and benevolent person like that. But actually, it's a demoniac mentality behind. I am your friends. I'll give you my mercy. And I'm the benefactor of everyone. Even that is sometimes being cultivated. Demoniac mentality. Whenever you want to assume some of the position of God somehow, it's actually demoniac. We cannot be the friends of everyone. That's not possible. What we can do is we can, as many as possible, we can inform. You have a very good friend. Krishna is your friend. Turn to him. He can really, he can, take complete shelter of him. He will always protect you. He is your actual friend. That's actually the friendship we can show to others. But we do not have the capacity to be the complete friend of everyone, or even to be the complete friend of even just one person. It's so that we're not able to, sometimes in like love relationships, and the idea is that he is everything for me, and she is everything for me, and we don't need anyone else. But that's not possible. A jiva cannot be the complete friend and fulfill all the needs of another jiva, another soul. Only Krishna can be that. So actually, the only friendship we can really render to someone is to point out, he is your friend. Krishna is your actual friend. So sometimes we all, we try to assume the position also as the great benefactor, the great friend of everyone, like that. That's even that when you get to recognize there's actually a demoniac mentality behind it as well. Even sometimes, as soon as one is endeavoring to take a position besides being God's humble servant, that's actually more or less a demoniac mentality. More or less a demoniac mentality. Or you do think even things done in the name of God can be demoniac because it actually is. One is assumed position which one is not. We're not supposed to do. For example, God is a great. He carries a rod of punishment. So you might one day get the idea, you go down, and then you show up, in an office of a magazine, and then God says, "Here, this is a punishment of God." Bang, it's a stick in Paris. Even though that was, you might see, modern people, of course, do not understand religion. They go, how can religious people be like that? Go and shoot someone, Of course, these, these magazines, these painters and artists and like that. They're also demoniac. They're mocking religion and like that. That's another point. But the point is, we're not meant to carry, God. If they should have God's punishment, we leave it up to God. We don't take the role ourselves unauthorized just because we feel like we should do it. So that's all the demoniac. They are demonic. That's also very, very demoniac. And we see the result is demonic. It causes more darkness, more destruction, and so on. It doesn't make the world a better place. That's demons. Demons, they create things and they perform actions which are really only destroying the world. That's another symptoms of demons. And but what is interesting here is that we see that it's very accurate description of this world. There are two kinds of persons in this world. Tao Himao, Utaloke, Daiva, Asura, Evacha. There are two kinds of persons in this world. There are the Daivas and the Asuras. And they are on all levels. They are on all levels. They are on the higher planets, and they are on this planet, and in this country, and this city, and we know even within one person, we're fighting with the demoniac side. We have a demoniac side, we're fighting with that. And but what we see here is interesting. Here there's this great friction between the demon Hiranyakashipu and then the demigods, and so it's and that's what happens when there is when demoniac mentality and demigod mentality, devotee mentality, they collide and there's friction. So what comes as a result out of that? Just like you have, when you have friction between something, there's fire comes out. Actually, so when there's friction between demons and demigods, what happens? Actually, Krishna comes out from there. And you see that. This is what happens here. There is Hiranyakashipu, and then his son Prahlad Maharaj, who turns out to be a great devotee. There's friction between that. As a result, Hiranyakashipu, he appears to protect Prahlad Maharaj. And so
Hiranyakashipu appears.
Nishingadeva appears, sorry, I'm always mixed up. Nishingadeva appears to protect Prahlad Maharaj. And generally that's what happens when Krishna, when he appears in this world, he appears, according to the Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya Sadhanam Vinashaya Duskritam, when, in order to annihilate the demons and to protect the devotees, when devotees are being harassed, being persecuted by the demons, then at one point becomes, the devotees take complete shelter of the Supreme Lord, and it becomes intolerable for the Supreme Lord to see how his devotees are being persecuted, and then he appears in person, appears in potency, he appears and in man actually. And so even though one might say, demoniac presence is, what a horrible thing in this world, but it ultimately brings out actually Krishna, he appears as a result of that. Just like we see when Lord Chaitanya, when he started his Sankirtan movement. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself 500 years ago, who started this Hare Krishna movement and spread it all over Bengal, all over India. How did he actually, how was it manifested? It's interesting to read how, what happened, because actually in the beginning, the Sankirtan was not public. Lord Chaitanya would get together with his intimate devotees, and they would have nightly kirtans, and for the whole night they would simply be chanting, dancing, singing, and descriptions in the Chaitanya Bhagavat and other places. It cannot really be described what was going on there. It was so blissful, so ecstatic. The devotees were, they were dancing, they were crying, they were experiencing incredible ecstasy. They were simply chanting Krishna's name. And Lord Chaitanya would be effulgent like 100 suns and 100 moons, but it was all going on behind closed walls, behind the walls of the courtyard and the house of Srivas Thakur. So, what actually brought it out was there was a demoniac attempt to stop the Sankirtan movement. At that time, Lord Chaitanya had ordered his associates, such as Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur, you go door to door and you ask everyone to become a devotee of Krishna. You just ask everyone, wherever we are, simply chant Krishna's name. That was the preaching. They would go they would knock on the gentleman's door, and then they would say, and they would be there like somewhat like beggars, and then the householder would ask, yes, what can I do for you? Can I give you something? I mean, then they were like sadhu, sannyasi, so the beauty of householders is that they'll give them anything. Sannyasi comes to the door, they will give anything, so that was the mood of the households, we'll give you whatever you like. And then they said, yes, we would like to have something, we would like to have the benediction, that you start chanting Hare Krishna. You chant Krishna's name. Please do that. That's all we're asking you for. And that's fantastic preaching. Somehow or other it became very complicated, but if one day we have no books to distribute, which we definitely pray that Krishna will never happen, but somehow or other we might end up in a situation, there's nothing, we have no books, we have no, we have nothing, I mean, we don't have any big engagements like that, we're just there. So then go and knock on people's door and say, can I just ask you one thing? And they say, yes, and then we say, here is this mantra, can you please chant that? Then I'll be happy. And then you go to the next door and see what happens. And so Haidas Thakur and Nityananda were doing like that, and many people would become actually, started chanting, and it had a visible effect in Nadia, and people, they were, and they were even openly beginning to chant and so on. But also as a result, that brought out demoniac mentality. There were those who were envious of that. That was also the reaction that Nityananda and Haidas Thakur and other preachers, they got. Some gentlemen, they said, yes, this is very nice, I'll definitely start chanting. And others would say, no, what is this nonsense? No, it's, go away, we don't want to see you here anymore. So that they were getting mixed reactions like that. But there were, preaching was taking place, devotees, there were more and more devotees. And Navadvip or Nadia at that time was actually a very, very big place. Millions of people were living in that area. It's described. So it was another, it wasn't, and many towns encompassed were part of Nadia. So it was a very, very big place. Very great center of learning, like a university city or something like that. And actually at that time, Bengal was controlled by Muslims, and the local magistrate was a Kasi, kind of maybe not a level of king, but still, like the administrator. And so the Hindus, it's interesting to find that the followers of Vedic culture didn't call themselves Hindus. That's a much later thing. But when the Muslims called them Hindus, and also we find in the writings in the Chaitanya Bhagavata and in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the word Hindu appears when it is connection with Muslims. They put the name, the word Hindu comes from the Muslims appearing in the Chaitanya Bhagavata, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Not from the Hindus themselves, they don't call themselves Hindus. But Hindus were a very, very suppressed group of people at that time, and they were very, very careful not to be too open with their religion, because they didn't want to disturb the Khasi and the Muslims. But due to the influence of Lord Chaitanya, then they started actually becoming very, very courageous, and the devotees were there, they were openly devotees of Krishna, chanting, having kirtans, even on the street. Not Lord Chaitanya himself, he and his devotees had behind closed doors, but other people started having it. So much so that, first of all, other Hindus were actually getting disturbed, those who were envious and, were simply, more ritualistic followers of that, than really devotees at heart. They also became annoyed, and they were becoming afraid that the Muslims they will come and they will completely destroy this town if this goes on. And they're also saying, all this singing and dancing, we cannot sleep at night. It's simply disturbing our sleep, and and there's so much hypocrisy going on in the name of this chanting. They would criticize Kulaveta Srihan would be criticized. He was a very, very poor man, but he was actually was most poor man. He didn't even have. He was living in a hut. He was so poor that he could not afford to fix the hole in the roof of the hut. He was chanting and singing the whole night still. And his neighbors were complaining, and they were saying that he's so just because he's hungry, his belly is screaming, and therefore he's howling the whole night. So they were, and actually some of these so-called Hindus, they complain to the Muslims actually. This is not proper Hindus, the name of God is not meant to be chanted loudly. It should be silent, because otherwise, God is being disturbed by all this loud chanting. And so Kasi, he was informed that this Nimai Pandit, Dr. Chanya was known as Nimai Pandit, he's causing a whole movement in this town here, and we have to do something. And then also when the Kasi discovered that, and he also became disturbed, and he saw that it's not proper. Because he was also somewhat a fanatic Muslim at that time. And so this cannot be, Hindus cannot be openly practicing their religion. So he sent out soldiers and started harassing the devotees and breaking the Madangas and telling the devotees that if, we actually I was very kind to you this time, and next time if we again catch you singing the names of Krishna publicly like this, then we will, we'll finish you all off. So the devotees, when they heard that, they got very, of course, they were shocked, they were terrified. They were forbidden to chant Krishna's name. So there was this attempt in the very beginning to crack down, to stop the Sankirtan movement, and so that was, of course, also. That news was brought to Lord Chaitanya. And what did he do when he heard that someone was trying to stop the Sankirtan movement? He was not just meek and humble and submissive. He became like a lion. He became like Nishingadev. And he organized a massive kirtan, and that was the first time the kirtan went public. Lord Chaitanya had not been singing and dancing publicly. But he organized that, tonight we'll have a massive kirtan and we'll go and see if the Kasi can stop us. Let's see if he can stop us. It described that the order was issued in the morning to Nityananda. Dr. Tan told Nityananda, you inform everyone they should all come and they should bring torches. And then we will have a big kirtan tonight. We go and march to the Kasis. And even though it was just a matter of a few hours, but someone other, and Vrindavan Thakur in the Chaitanya, he's clearly writing, this was miraculous. This was the internal energy acting. How this massive kirtan simply manifested. There were the word spread like wildfire, and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people started making torches. Everyone was making torches, and enormous torches, and had carried also big jars of oil because the torches were, they were cloth soaked in oil, so they had extra oil to, for the torches, and the whole city was decorated with flowers and fruits and banana trees in front of all the entrances and like that. It all happens, really, it just happens. I mean, normally when we have to organize a festival, so much planning and organization and communication and checking things are going on, and putting different, devotees in charge of this and charge of that and so on. Like you organize, for example, you mentioned, Mahabharata mentions that the yatras, with like 4,000 devotees that go on yatra for a week, it takes a year to organize, for the organizers. spent the whole year simply organizing that. So, but here, this massive kirtan just manifested within a few hours. And then when Lord Chaitanya, when he came out with his devotees and he started the kirtan, then they were joined. Actually, literally says hundreds of thousands of people were there marching with them. And that was the first time Lord Chaitanya came out, and they were, and of course, the people and devotees in Navadvip, they were ecstatic. Finally, they saw Lord Chaitanya go public. And the description of the kirtan, there's a long description in Chaitanya Bhagavata of the kirtan, how they go from this place to that place to this place to that place. Describe how, I think Advaita Acharya was in the front. There were several kirtan parties. That was how Lord Chaitanya would organize these massive kirtans, and they were, not just one kirtan. There would be a group. There would be a lead dancer. The first group was Advaita Acharya was the lead dancer, and I don't know if it's mentioned who were singing. There was a lead dancer, there was a lead singer, there were responsive singers, there were mridanga players, there were carpet players. The whole thing was organized. So Advaita Acharya, he was a dancer in the front. Second group, I think Haidas Thakur, he was a dancer. And then next group, Srivas Pandit was a dancer. And then in the fourth group, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Chaitanya together, because they didn't want to separate. They were dancing. And the whole thing was marching with hundreds of thousands of people like that. And again, the descriptions of that kirtan is like out of this world. It was like the spiritual world descended on Nadia that night. And that brought it out. There was this demoniac attack, and that brought out Lord Chaitanya. First time the kirtan came out publicly, and everyone saw it, and everyone took part, and it was an overwhelming kirtan. And also, as predicted, was that whole demoniac attempt was completely crushed. It is described that there was some, when the kirtan was going on, then some of the Hindus who were envious of Lord Chaitanya, they came in and formed the Kasi, Nimai Pandit is, he's organizing public kirtan again, you have to stop him, you just send some soldiers and, finish off the whole thing. And then the Kasi sent out one of these messengers to see what was going on. And when he saw that, he was shocked, and he was, because they had this kirtan, but there were two things going on. There was a chanting of Krishna's name, but also they were saying death over the Kasi, death over the Kasi. And there were hundreds of people marching, and this message was here, the Kasi doesn't have a chance here. So he came running back and told the Kasi, you better run from here. And but even that time, there were so many, they couldn't hide it, go anywhere. It's described all, the Kasi would send out soldiers, Muslim soldiers, but they were just scared. And what did they do? They joined the kirtans, and just as pretending they were also dancing and got caught up. And they said that those who had beards, they tried to hide their beards by looking down. And when the kirtan finally came to the Kasi house, and first Lord Chaitanya, he was like thunder, and even the whole place put on fire. But then again, that's the Chaitanya Bhagavata. Chaitanya Charitamrita actually described Lord Chaitanya controlled all these devotees. Says no, we have to be peaceful. And they sent in, and that's actually what happened. Someone was sent in to ask for the Kasi. Nimai Pandit is here as your guest. Why don't you come and receive him? This is not proper etiquette. You have a guest. He's coming to your door. Why don't you come and receive him? And the Kasi, they came out. He was hiding in the inner chambers of his house. And then they had actually discussion. And the Kasi actually became a devotee at that time. Completely changed. Lord Chaitanya changed his mind completely. And at least he became he admitted actually it's correct. Our Quran is an imperfect scripture, and Bhakti devotional service is also the essence of the Quran. We have to admit that. And he issued an order that from now on, nobody should stop the Sankirtan movement. The Qazi said that. Lord Chaitanya asked, can you please issue that order that you will not anymore stop it, our Sankirtan movement. And the Qazi said that from as many generations that will appear in my dynasty, no one will ever stop the Sankirtan movement. As a result, even when there were Hindu-Muslim riots in the 47, 48, all over India, there were nothing in Nadia because the descendants of the Qazi respected that we shouldn't stop the Sankirtan movement. That's a historical fact actually. And but we see again that's when when there's this friction between the demoniac mentality and the devout mentality. This is when Krishna really appears. This is also we have to add, so how do we want to become fully Krishna conscious? We also want Krishna to appear in our life. This is what we are trying to do. Well, we experience actually the best way is to go and confront the demonic mentality. Go out and also like Haidas Thakur, Nityananda, who tell people you chant his name, you become devotees of Krishna. To do it by distributing books and preaching to people and so on. And actually that's where we can really become Krishna conscious. Therefore Prabhupada he writes one purport, I also forget where it is, but it's in the Bhagavatam as far as Buddhism, that unless one is constantly confronting non-devotees, trying to impress them about Krishna consciousness, it's not really possible to become Krishna conscious. You become Krishna conscious by actually, challenging the demonic mentality in this modern world. And Prabhupada, that's what that was actually Prabhupada's mood. He challenged the demonic mentality, and that's how actually by his challenging the demonic mentality like that, the whole Krishna consciousness movement rose as a result. That's actually so in this, confronting, preaching, and so on. That's really where Krishna consciousness, where Krishna here appears in our life, in our consciousness, in our movement. That's when things happen. Anyway, I'm supposed to stop here. Sorry for going over time. Jai. No questions. Sorry for that. Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki.